We're recording.
We are recording. Welcome to Charts Chat, November 27th. Everybody, we have close enough the quorum here. So we have some discussion topics here. The first one being Helm Hub. Cosmos DB issue does not like this query with a link to a query.
Apparently, I don't know how to use hyperlinks. I decided to put it as a comment for some reason. So yeah, I was basically battling with this issue where there's this one query that we use in Monocular that isn't being liked by Cosmos DB for whatever reason. Works fine on any other MongoDB instance, but the Mongo API that Cosmos DB seems to use does not support it. I reached out to Matt Tucker from Microsoft, and I haven't heard back from him yet. I'm just wondering, given the amount of time that we have left, I'm wondering what we want to do here. Do we want to just set up a MongoDB instance that we know will work for the time being, and not use Cosmos, and then later try to figure out migrating that data to Cosmos? Or given that it's kind of like a cache anyway, it doesn't really need migration until we're starting to, if we decide to store logins or something, users or something. But right now, it's basically just a cache of chart repositories, so there's not really a big requirement to use Cosmos DB anyway.
Yeah, that sounds like a regional approach, at least for now. What do you think is the intended load on this system when it does launch? Do we think the day of we're going to get crushed, or I think it'll be pretty light for a while, presumably, right?
So let me jump on this one. One of the planned announcements at KubeCon in the keynote, where like close to 8,000 people are going to be, is the hub. So I don't know what that means, but I will expect a spike there.
Mm-hmm.
And what does this do in regards to Monocular? It's just a cache of chart version?
Yeah, so this is basically just where we store the data that we read in from chart repositories. So as we sync, we sync down the index.yaml, we dump that in Mongo, and then also the icons and stuff get dumped into MongoDB as well.
And presumably it's an in-memory sized amount of data.
Yeah, and actually the old Monocular server was all in memory. So it's not a huge amount.
No, if I remember right, the reason a database is used is so that you can have jobs outside of the main app. You can have microservices that do things
Exactly,
like
yeah.
syncing and all that stuff. So it doesn't all have to be in one binary.
Yeah, before we had it all in one binary, and that caused some issues in that we couldn't if you're running multiple instances, you might have issues where one instance has the latest versions, but the other one doesn't, so things just get wonky in the UI. Whereas this kind of makes it more distributed and more consistent, I guess. And we can use cron jobs in Kubernetes to do the syncs regularly instead of having to write our own, cron thing.
Yeah. I think how hard would it be to spin up a Mongo in Azure that's approximating a production style, and then just do a heavy load test against a test instance?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, we could even run MongoDB instance in cluster and see how that works.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing that for the Kube Apps Hub, and that's been dealing with the load fairly well.
So the Monocular chart right now already uses an in-cluster MongoDB, and we just modified it so we could set an external SAS instead of already doing it. So it already uses the MongoDB chart, right?
Yep. So we wouldn't really need to do anything.
Let's do that. I think that sounds like a good way to go. And it's nice to be able to say that we're using our own charts versus setting something up bespoke on a random cloud instance or whatever.
True.
Yep.
Yep. That's kind of a nice story to sell. Okay, sounds good. I think it's still useful to see if we can get Cosmos DB to work for us, because as I said, if we do want to, support users logging in future, then that could become important. But at least for now, I think it's not worth worrying about it. Cool, that's all I have.
All right. Awesome. And then the next one I wanted to talk about was just, we've been talking about distributed search and how that should help us alleviate some of the charts repo load and figure out a new path for the community. But I'm not sure where to follow how that should be executed or what the plans are around rallying the community around a new distributed repo and pulling back their charts and all that kind of stuff that would need to happen. Matt, do you have any pointers for that stuff? So what do we expect to happen? Because I see, a boiling point happening, and then not so distant future, maybe at KubeCon, where we're just not, merging at even a fraction of the rate that the PRs are coming in. So what do we want to do or execute on as to alleviate the load that's on the charts repo today from a maintainer standpoint?
I have two ideas. One, we document exactly step by step what somebody needs to do to create their own repository. You want to host it on GitHub, you want to host it in Arbitrary. Here's step by step what you can do. You have them a couple of options, right? GitHub, GitLab, object storage, that kind of thing. And then we put step by step what they need to do to have it added to the distributed search, including deprecating the old one and what they need to do there. And then when we announce this thing on that first day, we also have a blog post that says, hey, it's here. Here's how you can move your stuff to your own repository. And we give everybody the direction. And a couple of us just keep on top of that. I expect next week I'll be able to work on automation around it, but I expect it to be a fairly manual process at the beginning. But a couple of us can just, a few of us can just keep on top of that and bring them in, once a day or something like that. We can just start migrating people over.
And so how much of that do you think we should initiate? Because I fear that there will be complete inaction by the maintainers. I don't know who really owns any charts, right? I think we have struggles with actual ownership. I think we have a small percentage which are actively maintained, but a large swath are basically hive mind, built up a thing, and nobody really owns it, but maybe many people use it. So what do we do for that bulk of charts where, we might not find an owner? Do we just leave it? Do we start marking the PRs as, PRs for those charts as unmaintained chart needs owner or something like that? I worry that the best actors in the community are served by the new distributed search model, but those that don't really do anything are going to continue to send in PRs and stuff like that. So I don't know how to combat that.
So my 2 cents on that is we start simple. We start encouraging people to move their stuff out and teaching them the path to do it. And we see what maybe starts to happen. Maybe some folks want to claim some, and we're happy to. Let's see a few different paths we go, right? And maybe early next year we say, okay, now we're past the encouraging the low-hanging fruit of people who want to do it and are capable of doing it. And now we've got this pile of things we got to figure out what the heck to deal with. Yeah. Maybe we wait till then and try and solve it then.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile to start, thinking about a flag day, and maybe it's a taxonomy first, right? We think these charts are of Class A, Class B, yeah. Class C. All the Class Bs, we're gonna, merge pull requests through X date, Class C's, we're already not going to, maintain. And then the Class A's, we know we have good maintainers for to move things out. But just start to structure things a little bit, I think would be, at least in the mentality of the folks that are contributing. I just hate for people to continue to contribute and have PRs in there that they see, stagnant and aren't really moving forward the way they expect. So.
Yeah, and I know Remus said he was poking at JFrog maybe being willing to take some of these on.
Cool.
And so when we're at the con, we could ask him about that. And there might be others who are like this.
Yeah. Do you think we could do a blog post, pre, actual instructions for moving things out to kind of prime people to say, hey, look, here's the status of things. We think an approach is this, this, and this. If you'd like to help out with adopting a chart or whatever, just kind of start priming the pump a little bit so people understand where things are going a little bit more publicly.
Do we want to do that before or afterwards when people say, ooh, look what I can do?
I think either, as long as there's two separate things. I think one is look what you can do, and the other is here's the reality of the charts repo. We're not going to be able to sustain this much longer. So an option is the thing we talked about. Another option is that these kind of just sit stagnant, and the other is we're going to take care of these 25 charts or whatever that we've seen are most popular based on X metric or something like that. Or, we could have some sort of idea of health of a chart, right?
Yeah. So the way I'm thinking about this is we've got 2 weeks until the keynote at KubeCon to get the hub launched and the governance up and the process done and a blog post ready to say, here's what you can do. That's probably enough to do in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We want to probably style because Monocular by itself, the footer links are Monocular. They don't really help the hub. There's a bunch of little things we need to do. And I'm going to jump on a lot of that next week because I'm traveling this week. You don't see my normal background here. I've got other things I'm doing this week. And so I can help with it. But I think that's probably going to keep us busy enough up through KubeCon. Mm-hmm. And then after the conference, we should probably start jumping. Actually, I would say not after the conference because then we're the end of December and everybody's in, it's the end of the year time.
Yeah.
But I think after it would come early January, we should say, okay, let's figure out what we do now.
Yep. And that sounds totally fair. And I'll start to brainstorm on what the structure of a blog post like that would look like for kind of the State of the Union and trying to figure out this taxonomy. I think that's important as well to figure out where do we have healthy contribution, where are we just kind of spending time, spinning our wheels on charts, and which ones are worth keeping going forward, and others we can probably find out which ones are maintained by the folks that actually write the software. I think those are great candidates for, hey, go run this in your own repo. You don't really need us because you have distributed search now, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think we want to deprecate the stable and incubator repositories.
Yeah. And
so I bet you there's a bunch of other places we can move things. So there's a bunch of Kubernetes, the Nginx Ingress. I would love to have a Kubernetes SIGs charts repository or something that has Nginx Ingress in it or something like that, and some others. So the Kubernetes folks, which will probably be us, are maintaining it, but organizationally it's separate and it serves separately. I bet you there's a bunch of little things we can do like that too and shave this down. Because I bet you, so I'm figuring that about 6 months after Helm 3 comes out, Helm 2 is finally end of life. And at that point, the charts repositories are probably going to be deprecated. Now, how much longer we keep them around after that, I don't know. But at that point, there's going to be some point in the future where we stop keeping the stable and incubator ones around altogether because we don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would be awesome to move things to other places and kind of some other model. And so I just figured it'll take us a long time.
Yeah. I think, my only goal is to make sure that people are aware and that we have good places to point people on what the plan of action is, and maybe even in our README, start surfacing some more context
Yep.
for folks as they're contributing that, things are going to progress in a different direction.
To Vic's point, it might be worth doing an audit to seeing who's maintaining those specific charts and seeing and reaching out to them, just letting them know what's happening if they aren't aware of it, and giving them the heads up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can start, coming up with some messaging over the next couple weeks leading up to KubeCon, and then maybe we meet at KubeCon and have a quick review, and then we can talk about it in January later.
Sounds good.
Cool. There are no other topics. Does anybody think of something they wanted to bring up? Or shall we get 30 odd minutes back? All right. Sounds like we have no other topics to discuss. So with that, I think we can end the recording. And
all right, sounds good.
Continue on with our days. It was great seeing you all.
Good seeing you all.
Hopefully we'll see you
Great
at KubeCon. I'm excited to exchange some handshakes and hugs if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Have a good one.
Thanks
See
a
you.
lot, Vic. Thanks, everyone. Bye.